Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, and at Ayub Abdikadir with me in studio is the Executive Director, the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, Franklin Mukwanja. Thank you. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Lovely to have you. Mbeere North MP Geoffrey Ruku is with me here as well on the broadcast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Good morning.
Let's get to the other side of the divide. And the Deputy President yesterday, Rigathi Gachagua, and his allies renewed their demand for what they say is respect, saying Mount Kenya region had the decisive vote which secured the presidency for President William Ruto in the elections held in August 2022. Here's what they had to say.
And when I saw that there are people from outside who want to create division in this region, knowing the danger of moving when we are not united, I called for the unity of this region. All politics is local. All politics is local. Leaders of this region who want to fight unity don't speak in Western. Don't speak in Rift Valley. Come and speak here. If you think this unity is a bad thing for the Mount Kenya region or is tribalism the way I'm hearing, don't speak outside there. Kuja ita mkutano hapa Mkurueni, useme hii umoja ya Mount Kenya ni ukabila.
3 million votes from the mountain made this government secure. And we must get the respect due of 3 million votes. Sio watu wanakaa pale wanaongea vile wanataka. Hapana. Tena ni vizuri tutangaze hapa. Hizo kura zetu, nyinyi mnasema nani zimewakilishwa na nani? Kura zetu 3,000,000. The only figure around that ni Rigathi wake.
Franklin, to you first. What does this portend, especially this crack at the presidency? It seems it's now full-blown for the unity of the country, and the talk about tribal politics. One party saying it's the unity call. The president's camp saying that is unnecessary and we need not to amplify voices around tribal politics. What are the consequences and the bearing this has on national unity?
I mean, when a mother and a father are not reading from the same script, suddenly the children will be troubled. And in this case, we liken the mother and the father of the nation as the president and the deputy. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two is that there's nothing new that Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is doing that we didn't see in President William Ruto as the deputy of Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay. Is the same old rule book that he's playing out. And there is nothing new that the president and his henchmen are doing to the deputy president that is new. We see the old tactic of lighting fires at the backyard of the deputy, possibly to keep him busy on that end. But then there are two schools of thought that are a clash here. There are those who believe, and we have had it, that the President William Ruto is his own man and went to the mountain, and the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is simply a beneficiary of his good politics on the mountain. But then there are those ones who question that if it's indeed true that Rigathi Gachagua was unpopular with even the elected leaders at that time, and we had stories of who was favored as a deputy. But then the candidate, William Ruto, insisted on picking the unpopular Rigathi Gachagua. What does that mean? Is there something that the president saw in Rigathi Gachagua that would, enable him to victory? And I think if it continues that way, and looking at the voting patterns of 2022 and the previous patterns. First, we have not had an outright victory. Yes, there's been a victory, but we have had very slim margins. There's not been even a 51%. It's been 50.0 something. That tells you the margins very small. The universal margin between President Ruto and Raila Odinga was about 240,000 votes. The plus one was even 70,000 votes. And then you look at the voting patterns, you realize that the Mount Kenya bloc was a substantial vote to President William Ruto.
Yeah.
Who stands at a bigger risk here? I think as it stands, any slice of the Mount Kenya vote affects. If the patterns remain the same in 2027 and there's a fallout, any slicing of the Mount Kenya vote endangers the president and his candidature in 2027.
Okay.
You cannot ignore that fact. I do not see the forays he will make in Nyanza, the forays he might likely make in Western or at the coast, and that can be able to top up the numbers that come from around the mountain. At the national level, it is really, really a risk because we do politics and waste time on issues, on insignificant issues instead of focusing on national development.
And that is the priority aspect here, because the national outlook is more important, despite the appreciation that Kenya is an ethno-majoritarian democracy. Honorable Ruku, coming to you, because you are elected as a UDA member of parliament. Democratic Party. Given what's happening at the moment, what's the cause of all these differences and the fact that it appears the fault lines are clear at the office of the presidency? And then, isn't it too early?
Yeah, true, it is quite early, but at the same time, we have to appreciate the Kenyan politics is more ethnic. And probably we will break this ethnic type of politics come 2032. Probably by then, Kenya population will be ripe enough to break away from ethnic kind of mobilization and getting senior offices of the land. But at the moment, there is no dispute as far as who is the kingpin or who is the leader of the lower eastern region. That's largely Kalonzo Musyoka. There is no dispute whatsoever who is the kingpin as far as the Luo Nyanza politics is concerned, is Raila Odinga. There is no dispute as far as the lefty fari. The entire of the left from all the way from Turkana going down as far as who is the kingpin. In terms of ethnic style of politics. But there is a question. There is a problem as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned.
Okay. Who in your view is the kingpin of the Mount Kenya region?
There are those who are saying the kingpin of Mount Kenya region is Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
There are those who are saying, no, it's not Uhuru Kenyatta. Actually, the kingpin of Mount Kenya region is William Ruto, because he made inroads as far as Mount Kenya region politics is concerned. There are those who are saying, no, I think we need our own kingpin. And at the moment, the person who is holding the highest office politically is the Deputy President of the Republic. So there are different schools of thought as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned. And that's why the Deputy President is saying the unity of Mount Kenya region is important, because there's no outright unifying factor. For those who are of the school of thought that Uhuru Kenyatta is still the kingpin of Mount Kenya politics or region, they have their own listening. That there were ceremonies conducted. Uhuru Kenyatta has the network of who is who within the region. He has the capacity to do whatever he may want done within the Mount Kenya region. But also that are so many doubt and question we can ask, how was the performance of Jubilee Party in the last general election as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned, if Uhuru Kenyatta is the kingpin of Mount Kenya region. So I think what we are seeing is the unity of Mount Kenya region is is threatened, and that's for sure. But me, being one of the leaders from that region, I think we will fight very end to ensure Mount Kenya region remain united. We know what it means if we are divided, and we cannot at the same time sit and watch 8 million votes not going to one basket. We have to be in this government. We will be in the next government, which will be formed 2027, 2032. And also we will be in the government which will come after 2032. That is critical. That is critical. And the unity of our region is non-negotiable.
Okay.
We cannot...
okay. When you talk about the unity, who will lead that cause?
That's now the where all this jostling is all about. Who is going to be unifying factor as far as the unit of Mount Kenya region? Is it the Deputy President Gachagua? Is it Uhuru Kenyatta? Is it Kimani Ichung'wah? Is it Ndindi Nyoro? Is it Kindiki Kithure? Is it J.B. Muturi? We are not short of leaders. Is it Governor Waiguru? Is it Governor Cecil Mbalile? We are not short of leaders as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned, but at the moment we have Rigathi Gachagua as the person who has the highest office politically within Mount Kenya region. But at the same time, it's unfortunate also that we are discussing this type of politics. We should be able to look Kenya, in a bigger picture, and we appreciate that Kenya is a presidential system where the president bears the sovereignty, the power of the executive power of the people of Kenya, and we can also say that the resources are allocated according to ethnic. The resources allocation which we do in Parliament are not done in consideration of ethnic considerations.
There are proper procedures and the formulas that are set out in the Constitution that we'll be talking about shortly, and the need for this conversation being a Kenyan conversation, not a regional conversation.
That's the thing.
And the unity needed, and we'll be talking more about some of the sentiments made by the Office of the Presidency. Senator Dan Manzo, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Are we overlooking the general Kenyan mosaic when we talk about regionalization of politics in the context of kingpins, around unity calls, the need for coalescing around a cause, and forget about the largely national agenda of what's supposed to be an outlook, an appreciation of the cocktail that makes up Kenya's ethnicity?
Unfortunately, that's what it is. Since independence, Kenya has only been ruled by two regions, Central Kenya and the Rift Valley. And every time Central Kenya and Rift Valley works together, they clinch the presidency. And even after devolution, the president is still very powerful. He's controlling 85%. And I'll be very honest with you. President Uhuru Kenyatta was president because of William Ruto and his region. And currently, President William Ruto is president because of Central Kenya. So that's a fact you cannot ignore. And unless we detribalize the politics of the country, and unfortunately, the presidential candidates come from tribal cocoons. Charity begins at home. If you don't have numbers, really, you have no chance of ever clinching the presidency in future. But we want a future, we want a Kenya whereby anybody, just like Tanzania, the presidents have been coming from small tribes and supported by the bigger tribes. You know that regionalization cannot be forever. There will come a day when the president will not come from Central and the president will not come from Rift Valley. And therefore, what is happening in Central Kenya is the lack of a kingpin. And the one who is there, the deputy president, who has the highest office, second highest office in the land, some people are undermining him. This is sponsored from other regions and inside the region. It is true that Ndindi Nyoro has a future in politics. Kimani Ichung'wah has a future in politics, but it is too early for them to undermine the likes of Rigathi Gachagua. First of all, when you are looking at a kingpin, you look at the age. You look at the capacity, you know, to bring all people together. You know, when Central Kenya rioted against Uhuru Kenyatta, they never went to the wazees, you know, they never went to the clans, they never went to the system, you know, of Central Kenya. They just rebelled by themselves and gave or pretended that President Ruto is a kingpin. He isn't. He's a kingpin of the Rift Valley.
But Senator, why do we need kingpins? Why do we need fiefdoms? Kenya is a democracy, and the sovereign power is in the hands of the Kenyan people. I mean, isn't it unfortunate that you, as a senator, established lawyer, you still hold the deep thought of kingpinship and the role it plays in Kenyan politics, instead of appreciating that power lies with the Kenyan people who make the decision? It
is a reality now, and we are looking at a future where now, as the young generation, we want to cut across and break those bonds. You know, the kingpins and the tribalism is like slavery. These people are just slaves, whether you like it or not. The people of Rift Valley now are slaves of Ruto, politically. The people of Central Kenya are trying to break away from slavery. You may liken it, if you go to Luo Nyanza and you try to undermine Baba, you will never survive politically. So we're looking at a future whereby, it has been the power of the presidency. That's what has been caused by the goodies which came with the presidency and to different regions. At the moment, you look like you are against your own leadership established in your region. The people will really, will never give you a chance in politics. They will mishandle you. So we are looking at a future where that will cut across. And unfortunately, the young people who should be bringing this change, they don't vote. Most of them don't see the need of acquiring an ID card. They don't see the need of registering as a voter. And the majority, they are 72, 75%.
Okay.
They don't see the need of the tribe or the region you come from. But when it comes to decision making,
that's a fair comment.
When it comes to decision making, they are not part of the decision making. They allow the tribalized people to make the decision for them. I can assure you 7 million Kenyans did not vote. And they were the young ones.
Actually did not take part, more than even what the two presidential
candidates. The enfranchisement of young people is not by themselves. It is by design of the leadership. If you look at these legislators today and ask them in the current budget how much is going to IEBC, so that they can be able to continue doing their work of continuous voter registration and civic education, is very minimal. In fact, IEBC is only surviving on salaries and rent. There is no business going on. Look at the crisis that we have with the, registration, issuing of IDs. You delay people and then you start blaming them. I think young people need to be engaged. Young people need to get the right documentation. And also, the level of engagement that these politicians are having is actually what is putting off politicians, is putting off the young people, because they are seeing that democracy is not paying the dividends. They need policies that are progressive, that they can be able to get opportunities. Are these politicians engaged in that business? The other day, I was on this show the last time with Honorable Manso, and I want to remind, to jog his mind, I told him the issue of fertilizer will go nowhere, because the kind of legislators that we have are not interested in those selfless issues. And he can confirm today that the minister is still in office, regardless of the level of evidence on such scandals that actually put off young people from engaging in this civic discourse.
But in the end, isn't it important that they take part in that exercise as well? Because you have a chance to vote after every 5-year cycle. I mean, to address these grievances that you said that they have, the feeling that they are sidelined, but they can still make their voice heard through the ballot. When they stay off the political process, this again comes to backfire them, is it? And blow back on their faces.
there is a way to engage for young people to be involved. There are two things. One is that there is no facilitation for them to get the right documentation in advance for them to participate. If you're even struggling to access an ID when you are of majority age, and then you have a commission that is not facilitated to deliver on its constitutional mandate, when are you going to be able to interface with this generation so that they can see the value of the engagement? Then on the other end, there is no delivery of services that can convince young people that actually democracy is delivering dividends, and it's a place that we should be able to engage. So in terms of the demand and the supply, we have all those challenges that the leaders should address themselves to, and not just pointing fingers that young people are sitting on their laurels and they do not want to engage. There are reasons, and those reasons are to be tackled by the leadership and not to blame the young people for not acting.
And our leaders are here. Honorable Ruku, allow me to... let's get back, because this is a conversation that is deeply rooted in some of the utterances made by the Office of the Presidency. And here I am very specific on the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. In the early months of the presidency, he talked about the question of shareholding, how some Kenyans should get preference over others. He talked about keeping guard at State House in Nairobi so that some parties do not access the president, talking about the opposition leader, Raila Odinga. And now he's a disgruntled persona in the Office of the Presidency, talking about unity and seeing gloomy days ahead, the dark days he predicted in Nyandarua County about a fortnight ago. Isn't it a case of Gachagua eating the humble political pie here of now crying foul over unfortunate statements he made about government and Kenyans at large?
One, I'm a member of parliament. I don't sit in presidency.
You are part of the party that forms the coalition, the coalition alliance.
And I can't speak for the deputy president, but through. It is not right to undermine any leader, whether to undermine the president or to undermine the deputy president, or even to undermine any other elected leader. If you don't agree with him or with sentiments coming from any elected leader, I think the best thing we can do is also to have respect for the people who elected these leaders. The deputy president has said quite a number of statements in the past, as in day-to-day interaction with the people, and true, there are issues. There are issues which need to be addressed, but I think the person who has the capacity to address all these issues is the president of the nation. If there are issues between deputy president and the president, then I think they have the right forum. They meet in many places. They have cabinet meeting. They can call each other. These are people who have gone through difficult terrain in the past during the campaigns and even before the campaigns. So I think they are in a better position to address some of the concerns which probably are coming from both sides. But I think the right thing to do is to support the two of them, to support the president, to support the deputy president in the effort to unifying the country, in the effort to shaping the economy of this country. But sentiment on whether the deputy president is seeing darkness, I don't know what kind of darkness is this. Okay.
And the point is, you have gone off to a lovely diversion from my question. As a member of parliament who sits in the National Assembly, you are privileged to represent the people of Mbeere North.
Yes. He's a captive.
And I'll come to you, Senator Manso. And that privilege gives you the responsibilities of representing them and oversighting the executive and the government and also making laws at the legislature. When then the second in command talks about or describing Kenya as a shareholding entity, and says he will keep a guard so that some section of Kenyans who did not vote for the government cannot access state. Of course, we can't all access state house. But do you agree with such, as a lawmaker, do you agree with such sentiments? Because it seems then he's retreating back and now playing the victim when he made statements that were unfortunate and in contradiction with the oath of office. For the record, from where I stand as a member of parliament, Kenya is not a shareholding entity. We are all Kenyans. We have our constitutional rights, which should be defended by any government of the day. Whether you come from whichever side of this country, you have the rightful share of whatever the government is doing, whether you voted for that government or not. Therefore, I don't associate myself with this kind of sentiment. And I know the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto, is committed into ensuring every Kenyan, whether they voted for him or not, to feel that they are part and parcel of this nation, and is going out of his way to ensure that is happening. And that's why there is serious revival of the economy. We have seen proper, prudent management of both monetary and fiscal policies, macro and microeconomic, arena of this nation. And as far as politics is concerned, I know the president has the capacity to manage all the emerging political issues in the most prudent manner. Okay. So Kenya is not a shareholding entity, and I dissociate myself with such kind of statement. Yes, Senator Manzo. Yes, sir, and there's an issue we were dealing with the youth and the hopelessness. It is true that the issuing of identity cards have been skewed by the state for some time to deny certain regions, especially if you are perceived to be opposition or you are not going to vote for a certain individual political party, you are denied ID cards, and a lot of young people, especially the ones from the borders, have really gone a rough time to access an identity card. And without an identity card, you cannot register as a voter. And without registering as a voter, then you will not participate. And we have a smaller number of skewed people making a decision as to who leads the nation and leaving majority out there without having access into that. And then secondly, the issue of parliament. Yeah. Unfortunately, under the new constitution, we are not really practicing the new constitution. Under the new constitution, every member of parliament is supposed to check government, both majority and minority. In fact, under that constitution, there is no opposition. There is majority of Kenya of parliament and minority of parliament. So when you convert the minority into an opposition, then you end up dividing the country, and therefore Parliament fails in its role to check the executive. So we expect Parliament to check thoroughly all the decisions of the executive. But now, some members of Parliament aligned to majority have decided that they are the government, and they are in government. Instead of checking the government, they have gone to bed with it, and therefore, subsequently, now Parliament is under capture. And there is only now the executive, and the only one who can check is courts. If some people go to court to challenge some of the decisions made by the executive and rubber-stamped by Parliament. So, but to a certain extent also, I think the Deputy President has been an architect of his own problem. When he brought the talk of shareholders, then he referred to two major tribes in the country, those in the Rift Valley and those in the Central, and then isolated the rest, and that was misunderstood. It is also complicated by the fact that Raila Odinga somehow, or it is perceived, is being helped by the government. But Raila Odinga is not being helped by the government to become the chair of the African Union. First of all, he's been a presidential candidate for many years, and most people who are in opposition have become presidents, and they are helping him. Okay. What is happening is that the government has to pretend. You have seen a cartoon of Raila be fixed somewhere. They're pretending. Their goodwill is important, but also their lack of it will give them a very bad name diplomatically. Therefore, they're also in a fix. So the issue of Raila Odinga's perceived
to have gone into government has annoyed Rigathi and some of his people. But I think now that the die is cast, also the president himself, whether carelessly or so, but I think as a smart politician, it was by design. He has already given notice to Rigathi Gachagua that in 2027 you are not my running mate. My running mate will be a woman who could be Wanga or who could be the chair of COG or Iguru. So he's already been given notice to quit. And therefore, he must rebuild.
All right. I'll give
he must rebuild his career.
What Senator Maanzo is saying is not true. The running mate of the president then come 2027, there is nothing like consideration of such kind of an issue at the moment. When the right comes, the end of state, who all of us will support, we will decide who will be his running mate. And most, to a large extent, almost 80% or 90%, they will stick together with the Deputy President of the Republic, that is Rigathi Gachagua.
Thank you. When we get back from the break, Franklin, I'll start with you on the other major story of the day yesterday, and the paper saying that it is the government now taking over Odinga's AU job bid. And yesterday, the former Prime Minister said, "I'm not anyone's project." I was surprised equally by the government support. And Musalia Mudavadi, who said this is an endeavor for Odinga and that Africa needs Ababa, according to him. That is the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Foreign Affairs CS, who spoke yesterday in a joint news conference with the former Prime Minister. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. We proceed after the break here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.